it's me, Braggy, behind the camera, and I'm down on the Menil Langley estate, a country estate that goes back to the Norman period when the Menils came over in the 1066 with William the Conqueror. But I thought I'd show you for a few minutes what a slice of England looks like. This is what Anglo-Saxon England would have looked like. You've got some majestic oak trees that would make for a great post for a sail ship, for a Viking longship. And here's another one, magnificent and straight. And we are lucky to have such wonderful nature around us. And this estate has very much gone back to nature, back to how it was. Although in the medieval times we would have managed the land, we would have coppiced, taken out what we needed: the hazel, the willow, the oak, the ash, the alder, and any other tree we would find and think of. And I do love it here. In fact, I'm after a little bit of willow, and I just found a bit. That could be the willow I want. I want to make an Anglo-Saxon hammer with a hazel handle and a hammerhead made from willow. And I'm fairly certain that the landowner, who I know very well, won't mind. Of course, round here we're very famous for the bluebells. There's a few about, if you can see. And yes, I think it's a lovely, lovely little place. Here's an old majestic tree. That inside of it would have made a good shelter if you was out in the wild, if you was a shepherd. And I'm sure you agree. Let's take a minute and listen to the bird song. Here we see more hazel. There's some good pieces of hazel there. If you can't find any ash for your spear shafts, then you could take a little bit of that. This one here is very straight. That would make a nice handle for a Dane axe, or axe handle. It's not the best wood in the world for handles, but some days you've got to use what you got to use. And you can tell these paths, I'm on a path, you can tell, look, it's not been trodden on often. No doubt somebody walks down here, but not very often these days. And there's some majestic trees here. Some lovely oaks. I mean, look at that one there with the bend. And that would make a really good timber for a longhouse, if you're looking for that sort of a shape. And of course, the Saxons and the Vikings, they would manage the woods and manage the trees to grow them into the shape they needed. We have lost a lot of that culture and a lot of those skills, because there's an awful lot of brambles, but that's okay. It's taking the place back to nature as we go for another bit. Here's some barber's mushrooms. You can harvest them, dry them, they'll go a darky colour, and then you can put them on your fire. They make a great fire starter. Plus you could also use them to sharpen your knife. Like I said, a lot of this estate is gone back to nature, so a lot of the wood isn't coppiced anymore, isn't taken out. It's left to fall down and rot and go back to nature. Now here we see some more hazel. All these young little hazel shoots coming up, they will be left to go straight, and the bigger ones like this here would be coppiced for posts and handles and anything else you need to make, because they were so wise, they used everything. There's also a stream down here. They do a lot of pheasantting as well, so yeah. And then a little bit of history about this place. So navigating through a lot of wood. I wonder if I could find a nice bit of wood I could coppice, and not coppice, I could saw and take home and make into a shrine, can't say that word, to Thor, some kind of a statue. I've always wanted to make one, so just bear with me. But you are getting a good view of the English countryside. Of course, the Saxons would never have done this and left this wood devastated. They would have used all this. They would have, you know, come along and split it, made planks, made it into posts, and used all of it. Because, you know, it takes an awful long time to grow, and so why just leave it on the ground? Back in those days, you wouldn't. Perhaps with a log like this, we could get some. I've got some splitters. We could try to split a log the traditional way. Would be quite interesting. And I was thinking about filming some more of these walk and talk videos where I go for a walk and I talk about things like what's going on in the world, or talk about how everything relates to the medieval age, because a lot of things do. So again, another nice long log. You can see some of the there's a bit of a log there, a feast section out where they chainsaw it down. Yeah, they've been very brutal. Just step on this log, it's going to be easier. This is a very long log. This is, I think, oak. Could be wrong. I'm trying to go in this direction, back to my car. And then I want to get back for about 3 o'clock because I got a video on the Dane axe ready to go. I saw the last video on the Dane axe from Eggle did quite well. Very pleased about that. Somehow I've got to get across all this. It's not going to be easy. But if I fall over, at least it's entertainment for you. We're into some nettles. Of course, nettle makes good soup. But you need the very top leaves, the fresh leaves like that. And if you get a nettle and you want your hand up it, you can't sting it, or the bars of the stings, they're all face upwards. So you can grab a nettle and put your hand up and you won't get stung. And of course it makes great soup. And they do say that the Romans planted nettles, but I don't really believe that. I think we had nettles before that. So I'm going right through a thicket here of nettles and logs. But I love a good walk in nature. There. Well, thank God that branch was there, stopped me from falling over. Yes, I got myself right in it here. Let's go this way. This will be a little bit jumpy in places, this video, because what I'm going through. But it makes it more entertaining for you. As I drop my saw. But I'm glad I found what I needed to find. Because now I can make you a reproduction of an Anglo-Saxon hammer, which is in one of my many books. Because another thing I want to try is doing some flint knapping. I was having a quick chat with that Roy Lloyd, I think his name is, on TikTok and YouTube, who does Neolithic kind of stuff and Stone Age reenacting and living history. And he was saying he does a course on flint knapping, so perhaps I might think about doing that. And it's a lovely, lovely day. We are blessed. So make sure my car's a lot. That we have such lovely countryside and such lovely landowners who let us walk on it and enjoy nature. And I think dressing up in my Anglo-Saxon and Viking clothing, of course I'm on private land so I can carry my weapons. If I meet any walkers I may startle them. And of course, you know, a lot of, in the old times, you know, we did manage the fields and we did manage nature, but yet you still have wild places where they weren't farming and the field would have been a bit more open to ride on. But of course we also have always had paths for a long time and bridle ways. Ever since we started riding horses, we developed that. And to think of the history, the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings and later on the Normans, into the medieval age, the Elizabethans, in the Renaissance, it's all wonderful. And we're blessed to have these sort of places around. This looks like it used to be a pond, but it's dried up. I think it shows you at the moment how devastating the fact that you know, the ground is so dry you can't even crumble the soil. There's absolutely no moisture in it. And I know that used to be a pond where the cattle used to get the water. So it shows you how devastated the land is at the moment with not enough rain. We definitely need some good rain. And there has been reenactments on this estate. There used to be some cowboys, used to have little cowboy events. In fact, I went to one once and they had a lot of these cowboys. A lot of them aren't around anymore. I think there was a guy called Jay who was really nice. I got to talk to and get to know. So I hope he's okay. But ain't that just wonderful? I'm not sure what's going on over there. Looks like somebody's building something. And it's a lovely warm day. Looks like somebody's building a cabin. Nice. That's what we need. This would be an ideal place to have an Anglo-Saxon village in a field like this. If we ever win the lottery, that's definitely something I would invest in. Of course, if you're a fan of the channel and you're a multi-millionaire and you want to buy us an Anglo-Saxon village, then you're more than welcome to. There's some majestic trees, some lovely oaks. There's quite a bit more willow. Willow makes really good hammerheads. So I managed to find them myself a little bit. I better make a few hammerheads and a few other projects. But it's amazing when willow falls over how it survives. And you can see the cotton from the willow. Ain't that lovely? When I get in this afternoon, I will maybe have a look for, is that a deer? It's a dummy one. They do archery around here. There's a nice wooden bridge. I could get my day axe out and talk about the famous Viking from Stamford Bridge, There's another bridge here, but that's looks like concrete. It's not every day I come out in nature. I do suffer from a bit of agoraphobia, where I get the urge and the feeling not to go out, and quite luckily enough I've got so many things I can be doing around my house, I'll never really run out of jobs. So yeah, so a bit of history. So it no doubt would have been an Anglo-Saxon estate and would have gone way back in time, way back to the Romans, and then to the Iron Age, and then also to the Bronze Age, and before that to the Neolithic. And there's an awful lot of history. I do know somewhere around here there is a Bronze Age quarry which they used to dig for materials. There's quite a few medieval clay pits. There's medieval fish ponds that are no longer filled up and have gone dry. So there's an awful lot of lovely nature around here to see. And if you're wondering what the barrel's for, they're just left over from feeding the pheasants. And I don't know whether they feed the pheasants anymore, whether that's a thing they do, whether they're just left here. And we are coming to a bit of a stream. You can just turn around, you can just see it there, look. There's not much ash left over. Most of it's died off in Britain. Oh yes, this is a nice bit of a stream. You can see it there, look. Of course, in the Norman times they called them becks. Not sure what the Anglo-Saxons called them, but I found something here. Let's have a look. It's an old bottle. Broken, unfortunately. I used to come down here bottle digging. There's an old Victorian dump. Yeah, this is very nice. Sorry, I'm trying to watch where I'm treading at the same time. And I'm thinking about coming down here with my kit, doing a few walks as a Viking and a Saxon, telling a few tales. What do you think? Would you like that? Would you like me to get out in nature and show you some of the most beautiful landscapes we have in Derbyshire? As you know, I'm wanting to get out and venture more. I've also been thinking about what to do for celebrating 10,000 subscribers, because at the moment we're on 9,438 when I left my house earlier. We may have a few more. I'm putting out a few videos today. So I've been thinking about that, what to do. And I was thinking about possibly doing a day in the life of me, but also have another idea of perhaps doing a village tour of Repton, the old Mercian capital. And then there's a couple of historical places in that area, in fact 3 I could think of. I'm not going to tell you what they are because that's giving it away. But I was thinking about perhaps filming some locations. Something I've not really done so far on the channel. I've just not had the ability to do it. Well, so what do you think about that? Because there's lots of dead wood on the ground. It's often just left to nature. But they've had a lot of trees chopped down. To do with the highways people. And it's a bit of a shame. Perhaps we'll have a look at that. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see a bit more stuff like this, let me know as I try to figure out how to get across this next bit. It's not going to be easy. I think I can cross there, but then there's a massive whole field of nettles. That's going to make life interesting. I'm glad I've not lost my car keys. That would be a nightmare. I really do need to get a selfie stick or start using one for these videos. Yeah, we'll have another spin round. I'm spinning around. I'll tell you what, the ground is so dry. We've had no rain hardly at all in the last 6 weeks. So I do feel sorry for those farmers that rely on the water. Well, of course, all farmers rely on the water, whether you've got crops or animals. Because I'm not home yet. I'm going to go this way. I'm probably the first person to walk in here for a good while. Yeah, perhaps we could do some bottle digging. I did some in the past and I found some really nice bottles, as well as a Victorian buckle. So I keep meaning to repair and utilise. I'm definitely going to come out bruised out of this, with all the branches I'm walking into. But hey ho, I'll do anything for you guys. It's all worth the adventure. Right, I'm trying to get through this next bit. Because in the old days I could remember what plants were what plants, but because I've not been out in nature for so long, I've forgotten. So that could be another thing on the channel, learning about plants in the wild. There's also a little bit of hidden World War II history around here, which we could talk about in another day. Would make a good documentary. Well, that didn't quite work out as I wanted. Of course, coming down here in the autumn time, when all the plants are dying off, will be better. So that's a very big log. So I've got to try to cross. Ooh. Somehow. It's going to have to be a sit down job. There's a nice log there, but it's split. It's a shame. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. And who knows what adventure we may have next. I may get this out on the day, but it may be another day, but we'll see. So, it's goodbye from me. Love from Braggy. I'll show myself on camera again. Oh look, I've got a wild big bear over there for archery. They do archery here, there's an archery club. I've not seen that big bear before. That could make quite an interesting video, but not on the day when they're doing archery, because I don't fancy being shot by some arrows. And they got a wild cat statue. And I remember one time we took out a guy called Stuart, and for ages we kept telling him about the wild cats of Derbyshire. And so he was convinced one night when he was coming back, he saw one in the woods, and he was very scared. It was very funny. And I hope Stuart's okay. He's a really nice guy. I do talk to him now and again on Facebook. and he really loves sharks. Look at this bit of wood here, I'll show you something really amazing here. Look at this burr. Look at that. Just like an oak tree. That's amazing that. If that was solid, they'll be after that to saw it off and make it into a bowl. So burrs on trees, and sometimes they knew how to deliberately make them over time. It would take many years, but they would harvest them to make bowls and make really good bowls. And that's amazing that. Because you couldn't really harvest that for anything. It's got a hole in the middle. It'll make a nice toilet seat. And we've got a nice little hawthorn bushes here. So I pan the camera round. These are going wild. Normally the cattle would get them and graze them down, but not at the moment. The landowner, couldn't say that then, doesn't have any cattle. Don't think he's got any sheep anymore. I'll have to send him a message, because I got this idea about making a an open-ended workshop, so I can make an authentic forge and maybe have a lathe, and but I could do with coppicing some wood for that, for the posts. And we've come a long way. We've come from that corner over there. I'm probably going slightly off track, but I'm just curious to look at this workshop and being nosy. I wonder if somebody's building it to live in. Perhaps it's going to be a stable. I probably won't show it too much on camera. The guy's going away now. And we're going to do the loop and go back round that way. I reckon it's going to be somebody's house. But I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't think they've seen me. But yeah, if it has a nice veranda, you can make it into a nice western looking place. You'll just slightly see it in the background. We're going to go across this field and back, and then I'll slice this bit of the video in for another time, and then go home because I'm thirsty. Being British, I don't half fancy a cup of tea. Whoever it was in the van don't have much awareness, because I would definitely have seen me if I was in that van. And you can see part of the estate is over here. It's about 500 acres. So as I say, the Medal family came over with William the Conqueror in 1066. Then in the 1080s, around about the time of the Domesday Book was being written, William gave them the land. And originally, I think it was bigger and a little bit more further in one of the other directions. And over time, this is the land they developed. But then during World War II, Godfrey's grandfather was in charge of the home guard in the area, because there are two somewhere, I know one of them is very obvious, but there are two pillboxes, so perhaps we could look at them in the future. This is interesting behind me. It's like a circle of hawthorn, and I think that used to be one of the medieval fish ponds, or even the clay pits. There's lots of clay around here. It's very good soil, but there's also lots of clay. Never been in it. I'd be curious to have a look. And I'd be quite curious to ignore that notification if I ever buy a metal detector, to see whether I can get permission from Godfrey to do a bit of metal detecting, because I don't know whether it's been done on this estate. And I'm not giving the location away, it's a secret. Yeah, so I didn't really come out to plan to film a video, so it was one of these walk and talks. There's lots of buttercups about. I was reading about dandelions the other day, and I was reading how good they are for nature. Normally in the past I would get the dandelions and dig them up, but I've decided not to now, because dandelions are one of the very first flowers that pop out in spring. And they're the first flower to seed, so birds really rely on them, and they make really good cup for teas and medicine. You can dig the roots out. So yeah, dandelions, very useful. Don't dig them out your garden, folks. Give them back to nature. Let the little birds and insects have them, because you know you're feeding the ecosystem, and that's really good. Before we do go, we're going to have a look at this over here, which is a hawthorn tree, or maybe a bush, and it's in flower. And of course you can make wine from hawthorn wine from the flowers. I do believe I've had hawthorn wine before. It's very sweet. I mean, that's also a natural sugar in a way. It's a natural sweet thing. And of course they'll be collecting the flowers at this time of year to use in bread and put in the mead and all the other things. So let's have a quick look at this. Ain't that wonderful? That will make a nice thumbnail. Let's just try to get my hand out and pose with this for the thumbnail. Yes, that's marvellous. That would work. It's one thing I don't always think about when I'm filming, is posing for the thumbnail, or having a little bit in the video where I make the thumbnail. Some days I do it. I do it at the end. And then some days I forget. There's a nice wildflower. I wish I knew what that was. Oh, it's got a lovely scent. Oh, we are blessed. And of course, buttercups. What a gorgeous colour, yellow. I wonder if you could use it as a dye, as a mordant to make a dye. And of course they will dye things in bronze or brass or copper pots, normally copper, because copper really holds the dye very well. It's another thing we could think about getting into. We'll buy some old blankets and see if we could dye them. I know Eirik, the channel host on the channel, so hello Eirik, my brother. We have a really nice little oak tree growing, another one. Often we can thank the squirrels for that, because they go along in winter time, they collect the acorns, the conkers and the hazelnuts, and then you have a lot of saplings pop up because they can't remember. You know, squirrels don't have the best memory, but they are doing a wonderful job for nature. So I hope you've enjoyed this bit of the video. You can have a bit of a closer look at the hawthorn. And the hawthorn is a wonderful, this is just about getting towards the end of the flowering, because look, all the flowers are popping off. But if you come a little bit earlier and you collect the flowers, I mean, some of them, like this lot here, are a little bit fresher, and again that'll make a nice little thumbnail. But again, hawthorn makes a lovely wine, and of course you could use it for handles. It makes good posts. With willow, what they'll do with willow, nearly following the hole then, they would coppice the willow at the top, and then let over a few years the branches grow up, and then they'll coppice them again, they'll top it, and then from that they'll get a lot of decent posts. So willow was often used for posts. So yes, we're back to the road again. So oh yes, I've really enjoyed the filming today. I made something different. I can't wait to get in and edit it and have a cup of tea. But I've got to climb over a fence now, so wish me luck. We'll try to do it on camera. Maybe not the wisest of choices. Oh no, that didn't quite work, that. Climbing over a fence on camera. I'm going to sit on it, it's safer. Yay, I made it! And the field over there is called the hop yard. So no doubt in the past they would have planted and grew hops in there. So that's another interesting thing. And we're now back, without showing my car registration, back to the war wagon. It's a Volvo, it's Scandinavian. As a Viking, you've got to have a Scandinavian car, folks. So see you in the next bit of the video.